Good evening and welcome to Shining Waters Yoga as we prepare for this evening's practice. Pardon my double door there. Hopefully that's not distracting. It makes it a little bit cooler in this particular studio room that I'm using this evening. So let's get ready to get started for tonight's practice. A mat, obviously, or if you practice on a living room carpet, whatever you like to use. All other props are optional. We're actually not going to use the strap tonight. We will, if you have 2 blocks or a block or a stack of books that you can use as blocks, that would be great. Anything that, sits at a certain, you can even use a small table, like a side table or something. And if you have an extra mat, we're going to use a rolled up mat for one of our exercises right near the beginning. If you don't have that, you can roll up a blanket as well, and that'll work, or even a towel. So take a minute, grab your props, and we'll get started in just a minute. So if you like to sit up on a cushion or a folded blanket, that's another option. We were talking last week a little bit about back pain. That's kind of been our focus this month. You don't have to have back pain for this practice to apply for you. It's also going to be a great practice if you sit all day, just want to strengthen your lower back muscles and stretch your hamstrings, your hips. We're going to get into all of that. So there'll be something here, hopefully, for all of you to get something out of it. Seated, I just want to give you guys a minute to gather your props. And I'm going to start standing today. A lot of times when I teach corporate classes and people have already been sitting all day, we'll start standing. So that's how we'll start today's practice. I might need to adjust my camera here. So getting used to this YouTube rather than Facebook is a little different. So we're going to start today in mountain pose, right? So kind of the base for all of our postures. The feet are going to be about hip width apart. And when we think about hip width apart, we're talking about the bony part of the pelvis. So not the widest part of the hips. Some people like to say do this, but it's really relative to the size of your hips. What feels comfortable? So if you have wider hips and your feet are really close together, you may not feel very stable. Then again, if you have smaller hips, you might have the feet a little closer together. So finding what feels comfortable. You can even rock up and back a couple times on the balls of your feet, your heels. Take a moment to look at the body. So we talk about yoga as this practice of connecting with the mind and the body, and then the spirit as well. But we usually start in the mind and in the body, getting embodied, which is a challenge for some of us. So it's really good to just establish that connection with your feet and the earth. And it's funny, as many years as I've been teaching, sometimes people don't want to look at their bodies. They think, our gaze, we talk about drishti, has to be up here. Well, yes, for some things, for balance. But as you're getting into a posture about your feet, are you flat-footed? Do you have high arches? Do the feet tend to roll in or out? So just exploring your foundation a little bit. And then lifting all 10 toes. So I have less of a dorsiflexion on my left side because I had bunion surgery. And so you're just noticing little things like that that are going to probably affect your posture and your balance. Lifting all the toes, strengthening the arches, lifting the arches, placing them down. And then let's relax the shoulders, arms at your side. So start to bring the awareness upward. Engage your lower belly. We'll take a moment, even though we're standing, let's center ourselves before we begin. So imagine, and you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze. But imagine taking the inner ankles towards the outer. So pressing the inner ankles towards the outer ankles, engaging the muscles of the legs. Some people like to think of spinning the thighs, the inner thighs, back and apart. But as you do that, also imagine that you're adducting the legs outward. So it's like kind of a contrasting thing to feel all. Maybe bringing the hands together in front of the heart for a moment. Feel your heartbeat. Find your breath. Take a deep breath. And just sigh it out the first couple of times. Another deep breath. And this time as you exhale, arriving on your mat in this moment, leaving your day behind, and just being present. So with all those leg muscles working to keep us standing tall, let's go ahead and open the eyes, take the arms down to the sides. And then we'll do some energizing breaths. And also, again, just helping us release that day. So as I inhale, I'm going to take my arms up overhead. And as I exhale, I'm going to hinge forward from my hips, but bend the knees so we're not rounding from the lower back. And exhale the air out, ha, through the mouth. So inhale up, and exhale, ha. Inhale up, exhale, ha. 2 more. Ha. Ha. I lied. 1 more. Ha. And then maybe take a moment to pause there. Knees are bent. Come up halfway, lengthen the spine. Notice how the lower back is feeling today. Press down through your feet. Slowly start to rise and relax the shoulders back and down. From here, inhale the arms overhead. And we're going to move back a little so you can see better. Just take a little reach side to side as if you're grabbing something overhead. Reach. And reach. Reach. A little side stretch. We're going to prepare to go a little bit deeper in a moment. And then take both arms up. Maybe take the palms together if you like. Big breath in, reach, reach, reach. Draw the lower ribs in. And as you exhale, take a little bend to your right. And then maybe you can take this bottom hand and use it to facilitate a little bit deeper stretch. If that's true, take another breath. Don't hold your breath. Exhale, maybe you grow a little longer. Not literally. Inhale back to center. And exhale. We'll go to the other side, inhaling arms overhead, bring the hands to touch, draw the lower ribs in, and exhale to the left. And take another breath. Same thing here. If you want to use the bottom hand to facilitate a deeper stretch, give yourself a little pull. And press down through your right foot to keep yourself stable. And breathe. Inhale to come back up. Then we'll take the heels of the hand to the back of the pelvis. Pinky sides together. Draw the shoulders back and down. And imagine squeezing the elbows towards each other. Inhale and lift from your sternum to the sky. So you're coming to a little back bend. For some of you, it might be very small. But imagine lifting and lengthening. And note if there's any pinching or discomfort here, come back out, okay? So squeeze the elbows in. You can just lift from the sternum and keep the fingers down if you feel like it's too much in that arch position. Breathe. Exhale and release. Inhale, reach the arms overhead. And as you exhale, bend the knees. Come to this like a chair pose. So from here, try lifting your heels. That's too much on your knees. You can bring them back down. Draw the belly in. Maybe we bend a little bit deeper. And then bring the heels back down. See if you can lift your toes. And then inhale, come all the way back up to stand. Lift your heels. Draw the belly in. And as you exhale, heels come down, come back to that chair pose. Inhale, come to stand. A little bit of balance. Exhale, heels down, come to chair pose. Inhale, lift up onto the balls of the feet. And exhale, heels come down, chair pose. And gently come back to mountain pose. From here, you're going to grab that rolled mat, or if you don't have an extra mat, you could just roll up the mat that you have. And in fact, I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. I didn't have to bring a mat up. See how that is. That's a little bit squishy. So I am going to use my extra mat. This one's a little thicker, gives me a little bit more padding. But use what you have. You're going to stand on the mat. You're going to have your blocks, or this is where I said even a small table, like a side table might work. It can be higher than mine. So, imagine got something a little bit higher. That's fine. I'm just going to use my blocks. So you're standing on your rolled mat or your blanket, and bring your heels down to the floor. So the toes are going to be up. Now, check the knees right away. If you're someone who tends to hyperextend, as I fall backwards, don't be pressing backwards into your knees. So keep a little bend in the knees if you need to. Heels on the floor. Start to inhale the arms up. As you exhale, you can take the arms out to the side or to the waist. Leading with the sternum, start to bend forward. So the last class we were avoiding forward bends. I don't want you to round in here. So again, if there's any pain, you're just coming back up out of it. And you can come to just a chair pose where you're sticking the butt out a little bit more. Try that. Otherwise, start to bend forward. Hands to your thighs. Take it a little at a time. As you inhale, imagine starting to straighten those legs. So we have that little bend in, but again, don't lock your knees. Breathe here, stretching the lower back. Another option, if you don't have these props, keep breathing. Those of you that are in this option, you could just come to the wall and pardon my butt to the camera, but take your hands shoulder width apart and walk back and take the stretch that way if you don't have these tools. Okay, but get into that stretch. Those of you that are on the mat, you can start to walk your hands forward a little bit as if you're going to come into a downward facing dog. Lift the hips up and back. You can push the floor away, only if that feels okay for your back. So again, when we talk about back pain, there's a lot of different causes. So always make sure you know what you're dealing with, whether you just got a pulled muscle or if the doctor tells you you've got something else going on. Because different things are going to be appropriate for different people here. Some of you might be able to come down to lower blocks. Breathe, look forward. Inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to bring the knees down to the mat. So if you have any issues with knee flexion, come down to the floor in another way without that deep knee bend. That's fine too. So I am in hero pose. If this posture is not appropriate for you, then just come into a lunge, okay? So you're going to stretch the front of the the front of your left shin. For the rest of us, if your hero pose is okay for you, you're going to be kneeling. You can always use the block under the seat of your bootay. And we're going to lift that left knee up, stretching the front of the left shin, and all the way into the top of the foot. We don't always stretch that. A lunge. And then release. We'll take the other knee, lift the right knee with the right hand. You'll have to stretch all the way through the front of the foot. Warming up. And then just one more time each side. So lifting the left knee. If you want to get brave and try both knees, you can with the right knee. So some of you might be able to actually, I can't do this on the block, but lift both knees up with the hands to the sides. That's fine too. And then taking the hands behind you, the fingers are forward. Give a little press and inhale and lift from the sternum. Big breath in. Some of you might be able to lift your hips up, but be mindful of that. So if you've got lower back pain on, you probably will leave your hips down, just open from the sternum. I'm just giving different options. So those of you that don't have back pain, you want to lift the hips up, go for it. Breathe. And exhale, come back to center. And then from here, we're going to take the feet out in front. Walk them in a little bit. Wrapping the right arm around both knees. Take the left hand behind you. See how far you can twist with that hand while keeping both hips nice and steady and forward. Take that little twist. Breathe in, lift up nice and tall. And exhale. Again, if any of these postures bother your back, stop and don't do them, okay? And then we'll switch sides. Wrapping the left arm around, take the right arm back, take the fingertips behind you, press down to lift nice and tall. As you exhale, maybe you twist a little bit more. So this twist, pretty safe with the knees together, keeping the hips forward so we don't get into that lumbar. It should come from the middle of your back. And sometimes we tend to take the hips into the twist. Good. And then coming back to center. So from here, let's get this guy on this side. We're going to come to all fours now. And again, if you want to pad your knees with a blanket, you can. Hands are going to be shoulder width apart, knees hip width apart. I'll demo with a blanket for you guys. And then just be mindful of the wrists if you're dealing with any arthritis or anything like that. This may not be the right posture for you. So you could take fists, you could come down onto forearms as an alternate. But then again, be mindful as we come down a little bit lower, our booty's kind of sticking out a little bit. Just be mindful, any sensation in the lower back, we're not trying to cause pain, we want to release tension. So from here, I'm going to stretch the right leg back, no higher than parallel. So press through that heel. If you have a wall behind you at home, you can take the foot into the wall and even turn it out slightly. But not so much that you open up the pelvis, you're just turning the foot. And then reach that opposite arm out and stretch and hold, breathe. Notice what muscles are working. And exhale down, other side. So stretching the left leg back, press through the heel, opposite arm, right arm. Find length there. Engage your belly, drawing abdominals in. And exhale down. Move back and forth a couple of times at your own pace, but stop and pause. This is a strength exercise. We're not trying to do calisthenics here or see how many of these we can do in 30 seconds or anything, right? Stop, pause, and feel. Left hand, flex the foot. Left leg, right arm. Come back down. One more time. This time, you can repeat the same thing or bend the knee, bring the heel towards your glute, reach back. See if you can grab that foot. Inhale, lift from the sternum. You might be able to press the foot into the hand if you can reach. If you fall down, no worries. It happens to all of us, right? Or just reach towards the foot and keep pressing that foot up. Strengthen that glute. And switch sides. Left leg. Right arm reaches back, bend the knee, try to grab that foot. Lift up from the sternum. One side might be a little easier, you never know. Breathe. And come back down. And then from here, a couple of choices. You can walk the hands forward just a little bit, tuck the toes, start to lift the knees off of the mat, coming into a bent knee downward facing dog, and see if that's going to be okay for your back. So this is a little bit of flexion here. You can pedal through the heels, so straightening one leg and then the other, and don't do it real fast. So if you're not okay with this, you're going to leave the knees down. Take the knees wide, almost as wide as the mat, and start to sink your hips back and play with that. That's also going to be some flexion coming into a child's pose. Try them both out. See what feels okay for your back today. So I'm going to come back to that bent knee downward facing dog. As you straighten the right leg, press through your left hand a little bit more. And as you switch and straighten the left leg, press through your right hand a little bit more. And you can just try that a couple of times. And then alternatively, if you're in that child's pose, you might even have a block under your head. Or something to support your head here. It might be on the highest level. And those of you that are in the down dog, when you're ready, take a little rest here in child's pose, bringing your hips back. So some of you might be back farther. I'm just giving some different variations. But you want to relax your neck as well. So it's nice to have that block, or you can bring your head to the floor if your hips aren't way up in the air. And then from here, we're all going to come all the way down to your belly. So, but you're not going to need the blanket here. So we can get that out. Coming down onto belly. And coming into some back bends here, but again, we're going to bring our awareness to the low back here. So if you feel, we want to encourage extension and not like a crunching in. So, and we're also going to strengthen the glutes a little bit. So coming to a Sphinx pose where the elbows are under the shoulders, palms face down. Start with the right side. And I'm going to tuck my right toes under, just the right ones, and lift that knee up. So you're engaging your hamstring and your glute. So lifting the knee up first, inhale, look forward, and then lift that whole leg up. It may not go very far. If it's too much on your low back, bring it down. And then inhale, lift again. Bring it down. Those of you having any pain here in the lower back, just relax the leg down. Maybe try just a straight leg with a pointed toe, okay? Try that, the version that you're probably more used to. So tuck the toe, lift the knee, and then lift the leg. Like I said, it may not go high, very high. 2 more times. You can keep the toe tucked, but just lift the knee, lift the leg, hold, bring it down. Rest. So you can untuck your toes, tuck the left toes, lift the knee, lift the leg. Notice if one side's harder than the other. That might give you an idea if one of your glutes is stronger than the other or weaker. So lift the knee, lift the leg, and release. You can also rest. If you want to rest the top of your head down, lift the knee, lift the leg, and just continue working the leg and the lower back and bring it down. Toe is tucked, lift the knee, lift the leg, last one. I think. I don't know if I counted. We might have done more on the other side. That's okay. Relax. Wiggle the hips side to side a little bit. And then from here, come back to that Sphinx pose if you rested your head down, because we're going to do a little bit of core strength. That's also going to be important to prevent low back injuries. So if you're in the middle of acute pain, you might want to skip this one. But if you want to strengthen your core, we're going to tuck the toes and go ahead and start to lift the hips up off the floor. Maybe lift the knees as well. Slowly lower, untuck the toes, inhale, look forward. As you exhale, draw the belly in. So I'm sorry, I said tuck the toes before, but you can leave the toes untucked and just squeeze that belly in. Those of you who are able to can tuck the toes and come to a forearm plank. And then relax down, look forward, inhale. We're going to do one more. As you exhale, start to lift belly, lift hips, tuck toes, forearm plank. Hold as long as you want to this time. Really draw that belly up, up. The more you lift the hips a little bit, you're going to take tension out of that low back. You'll feel that. Really. Take the feet a little bit wider. You can turn your head to the side if you prefer. Breathe. And then from here, taking the hands under the shoulders, Roll the shoulders away from your ears. Inhale to the upper back. Exhale, draw your belly in. We're going to walk back to table, or you can tuck your toes and come into downward facing dog if you feel that feels okay for you. Otherwise, table. From that position, either table or down dog, we're going to step the right foot forward. We're going to come into a low lunge. So again, stretching the front of the left leg. Watch your the relationship between your knee and your ankle. So we want it to be in line or behind the ankle, and then start to lift up. Taking both hands to the front thigh. Come all the way up onto that back shin. And then inhale the left arm up. And as you exhale, come forward. So you can shift the hips forward. Watch that knee doesn't go out over your toes. So if it's way forward, then you're going to have to bring your foot forward some more. And inhale up, reach the arm, and exhale forward, bring it down. You can always have a block there. Inhale up, and exhale down. And then from here, it's helpful to have blocks, not necessary, but helpful. This is going to help keep the front lifted. Tuck your back toe and lift that knee up. Come into more of a runner's lunge. We're going to try to come into high lunge. So it requires some balance. You might stay here if you want to, or if you want to come to high lunge, step the back foot in a little, start to lift up. Find your balance. Maybe you bring the hands to the front thigh. Maybe you reach all the way up. Exhale, draw the belly in, lift a little higher. The integrity of the knee to the ankle, bring the hands down to the blocks. We're going to step back to downward facing dog, or your choice, bring the knee down, step back to table. Be very careful with that transition, that you're not rounding in that lower back and causing any pain. Again, so I'm bringing the knee to the chest, bring that foot in a little bit more, You can use your hand to help. Come into a lunge on the other side. That's a tough transition. So if you're having any back problems and any doubt with that, just switch from the table position, step forward. And from the low lunge position, bring the hands to the thigh. Just allow that release to happen in the front thigh. Pressing down into your thigh, come all the way up. Inhale. Exhale, hinge forward at the hip. Watch the knee. Inhale, lift up. Press down to that back shin when you lift up. Inhale. Exhale. And then from here, we'll tuck the back toes. Lift that knee. Pausing here. And then stepping the back foot in a little bit. So I'm really trying to keep kind of a straight line here as I lift up. So I'm not rounded. And then reaching arms over the head. Breathe. Maybe clasping the hands, reach a little higher. Exhale, keep the belly firm. Inhale and exhale. So here's where it gets tricky. Watch as you're coming back down. If you just fall back down, sometimes we go into that rounding and we injure the back. So from here, I'm going to step forward and I'm going to take bent knees so that I don't come into, again, that forward fold too quickly. From here, with my blocks, I'm going to start to straighten the legs. Maybe keep a micro bend in the knees, or if your hamstrings are tight. And again, notice what you're feeling in your lower back. Does it walk the hands into the thighs, bend the knees into chair pose, lift all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. So from the top of your mat, we're going to start from our mountain pose. Relax the shoulders down, arms at your side, breathe. So we're going to build a little bit on what we did last week, but we're going to do something a little bit different. We'll start by stepping the right foot back. And this time the heel can come down. So coming more into warrior one, this hip opens a little bit, the back foot can open a little bit. And then imagine from the mid-spine again, the ribs twisting forward. And you might adjust that back foot a little bit as needed. Start to bend this front knee, bring hands to the heart. Inhale, lift the arms overhead. Keep pressing to that back leg. Exhale, bring the thumbs towards the occipital ridge or the edge of the skull. And inhale, lift up a little higher. in the sternum, if you can. Breathe. If that's not comfortable, just take the hands straight up. And exhale, arms down. So we're going to come from inhaling, reaching the arms up, keep the front knee bent. Exhale, lean forward, keeping a straight back, and the arms come back. I'm not going any further than that. Inhale, press that back leg as you come up. Exhale and hinge forward. Inhale, press to that front foot and the back leg. Exhale to hinge forward. Inhale, reach up. And exhale, hinge forward. Strong core here. This time, inhale, come up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Start to step that back foot in. So you can keep a healthy bend here in the front leg. We're going to start to come into warrior. Slowly start to take weight on that front foot. So maybe give it a couple of tries. Okay. Pressing down through the base of the ball of your foot, the base of the big toe, and the outer heel. Find that balance. Lift the arch. If this is really super hard, you could cheat for today. I will close this door for a minute. Come to the wall and find your balance there. So keeping the hip and the foot aligned. I'm not coming forward. So that's your other option for the day. That back up because it's like an oven in here. Definitely getting the hot yoga on today. March it out. We're going to switch sides. I'm going to turn the other direction. So this time I'm going to step left foot back. Opening that hip a little bit, turn that back foot out a little. Find your warrior one. So we're going to take the ribs forward, right hip forward. Start to bend this knee. Maybe you have to walk that foot a little more forward or a little more to the right. And then inhale the arms up. Exhale, bring the palms together. Start to bring the thumbs to the occipital ridge. Base of the skull. Inhale, lift up from the elbows. Keep pressing through that back leg. Breathe. Feel how long the spine is. And then inhale, reach the arms. Front leg's going to stay right where it is. Exhale. Engage your belly. Lean forward, bring the arms back. Inhale, reach up to the sky. And exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lift up to the sky. And exhale, hinge forward. Inhale, lift up. Flat to the heart. Start to step the back foot in. Arms can come back down. Start to take weight into that front foot. See if you can lift off here. Keep the chest lifted. So if you just fall forward, which we don't want to come that far forward, you're going to lose your balance. So you can define a balance between the upper body and the leg. Arms to your side. Same thing if you want to use the wall. Don't lock out your knee. Keep your belly engaged. And when you've had enough practice with that, bring that leg forward, march it out. So just kind of finding that balance between the two hips. And then coming back to our mountain pose, we're going to do a couple of balance exercises. So if you want to be near a wall, again, use that for help. That's totally fine. For today, we're going to start with the left foot. Again, find that balance between the base of the big toe and the outer heel. Maybe lift your toes, lift that ankle, lift that arch, that ankle. And then start to take weight, lift your knee, draw the belly in, find your gaze point. So here we can have a nice straight gaze. See what happens when you take the arms up. Bring the hands to the knee. We're not going to draw the knee way in today. Just taking the hand, find your foot and bring the heel towards the glute. You might be holding onto the wall or to a chair. If you don't need to hold on to anything, reach the left arm up. Breathe. That nice stretch in the front of the thigh. And come down and we'll switch sides. So as you're ready, pressing down, engage your belly. If you don't need to hold on to anything, you can take the right arm up. Oh, we didn't grab the foot yet. So take both arms up. And then grabbing the shin, bring that heel towards your glutes. So the knee is going to point down, legs are close together. Here, if you don't need to hold on to the wall, take your right arm up. Pressing down to the foot, draw the belly in. Try not to lock that standing leg, knee. If you're a knee locker, like I am. Breathe. If you have any kind of hypermobility in the joints, you want to be really careful about that. So go ahead and let it go. When you're ready, march it out. And then we're going to come down, back down to the floor to seated. Grab my phone so I can keep an eye on our time. We're going to start here with Baddha Konasana, but a little bit wider. So soles of the feet together, heels together, making this diamond shape. And you're going to take the hands behind you to the floor. And again, inhale and lift the sternum. So we're not forward folding. We're just lifting up from the sternum. You can even press down to the heels of your hand if you want to. Nice big stretch. Feel that openness of the chest and the shoulders. And then as you can, some of you might stay there. If you can, bring the hands forward, but keep that lift in the sternum. Again, we're not folding forward today. We're just lifting up and just kind of letting the hips open on their own. Breathe. If you notice that one hip is tighter than the other, you could take the hands back to the floor, and if your right hip needs a little more opening, press down to the left hand a little bit more and see what happens. And if the left hip needs a little more opening, press to the right hand. Notice, and then coming back to sit up if you can. Breathe. Opening the hips. And then taking the soles of the feet to the floor. We're going to do a little more core work coming to boat pose. I'm going to try to think, I think I'll do the side view today. So let's see what I want you to see. So again, taking the hands behind you, lift from the sternum. Find this lifted pose. My knees are hip width apart. Excuse me. And then big breath in, lift your sternum. As you exhale, draw your toes up. Just feel that engagement of the belly. And then imagine that you're digging your heels into the mat and drawing them towards you as you also lift up from the sternum. Feel those muscles engaged. Some of you might stay here. If you can, start to take the hands out. See if you can do that. If not, you might try them here. But sometimes we take the hands around the thighs and we still start to round in. So lift again. Check if the sternum is lifted. And breathe. And this might be all where you go today. Keep digging those heels into the mat. Because once we take the legs up, we can't dig the heels in anymore. It's a good way to practice refining your boat pose. Those of you that want to, if you want to go ahead and try to lift the legs, but keep the sternum lifted. If you start to fall back, come back to the heels, digging into the mat, drawing them towards you. Okay. And then exhale, release. If you want to straighten the legs, give them a little break, maybe even let the feet flop in and out a little bit. That was a lot of engagement of the muscles in the legs. And then from here, we'll come to one twist before we come down. Crossing the left foot over. And then sitting up nice and tall again. We're going to try and keep the hip points down. I'll turn to face you here, although it gets a little bit confusing with the right and the left. So try to prevent this left foot from rolling over onto the pinky side. You really want to press down to the base of the big toe. You can take the left hand behind you and lift up a little bit higher. And maybe we just encourage the knee to the center. One thing that can happen here, sometimes the belly is in the way, so we can actually pull the flesh inside, out of the way, so that we can twist a little bit better. Keep rooting down to that left hip point and just start to take that twist. Notice how you feel. Again, any discomfort in the back, we're going to back off. Breathe in. Breathe out. Full breaths here. Those of you that want to take the elbow to the outside of the knee, you can, but it's not necessary. Don't force yourself further than you want to be. Sometimes we tend to do that, and then this hip starts to lift up. So keep the hip grounded today. And then come back to center. If you want, you can take the Gomukhasana, stacking the knees. Sometimes it's helpful to lift up on a block here, lifting up really tall. If you want to take the forward fold, you can. You can exhale and come forward. Again, depends on how you're feeling in the lower back here. If you feel like you need that forward fold, you can come forward. I really feel that as a deep stretch in the hips, and the glute muscles. And then coming back to center, we're going to switch the sides. So uncross, and we'll bring the left heel this time to the right glute, bending that. There's space for the belly. If you need to, you can actually draw the flesh inward. And then right hand behind you, sit up nice and tall. As you exhale, just start to twist to the right a little bit. Draw that knee up as best you can. Keep the right foot down on the earth. And keep the right hip on the earth. Let that hip come up. Breathe in. Notice where you feel this in the back. If you want to take the elbow, you can. But again, not necessary for today. We're just trying to keep the hips grounded here. One more breath. And then bring the right heel to the outside of the left thigh, a little closer to the glute. Sitting up nice and tall in Gomukhasana. Cow face pose. We're not doing the full thing with the arms. But sitting up nice and tall, if you want, that might be enough. You might really feel this in your right glute. Or you can lean forward, but no rounding in the back. If you want, you can sit up on the block and take this posture. And it's not an easy posture, so some of you might still be sitting like this. That's okay too. Be kind to yourself. And be kind to your body so that your body is kind to you. When you're ready, inhale to rise, uncross. We're going to come down onto our backs. We will do a couple bridge poses. So first, let's just get some release in this pelvis. So hands to the thighs. Again, feet are hip width apart, knees are hip width apart. Walking the feet in a little bit. As you inhale, press into the thighs. Allow the pelvis to rock forward. So the tailbone comes down towards the mat. And as you exhale, just release. The lower back releases and it'll flatten a little bit. So as you inhale, press into the thighs. Inhale, press into the thighs. And exhale, release. Last time, inhale, press. Arching the lower back. Exhale, release. Let your arms fall to the sides. Palms face up. And then as you inhale, again, you're going to start to press down through your feet. Start to root down through the feet. And allow the lower back to arch. Pressing down through the feet. Start to lift your hips up this time. Don't look to the side. Then lift them up a little bit more. Engage your quadriceps. Press down through your feet and your upper arms. Notice if you're clenching your glutes, and if you are, see if you can soften a little bit and let the quads do most of the work. So the glutes are engaged, but try not to overuse them today. Palms up. Exhale, slowly lower, slowly up, slowly. That was a trip with the tongue. 2 more times. So press down to the feet. Inhale, start to tilt the pelvis forward. So you may have been told to tuck your tail as you lift up. Try it this way. Tilt the pelvis forward. Start to lift up, lift up, lift up. Walk your shoulders underneath. Eventually, you'll be able to lift up a little bit higher this way, possibly. Maybe lift your heels off the floor. If you want. Heels down, slowly, slowly lower. Let the hips rest. Breathe. And then we've got one more, so we're going to root down to the feet, start to lift the hips up, walk the shoulders under. If you want, you can clasp your hands under the tailbone. Again, bring your awareness to those 3 points. The feet, press down, engage the quads, press down to the upper arms. And releasing the hands out of the way, slowly lower. And take the feet as wide as the mat, let the knees fall together and breathe. And then from here, just go ahead, straighten the left leg. You're gonna take your right foot just across the left thigh. Keep the foot on the floor. Start to take your right knee across the body. So it's not gonna go really far. Keep your foot on the floor. It doesn't have to be flat, but don't let it fall over where you're getting a really deep stretch into the back of the glute. Instead, just take it a little bit. We're getting more to the piriformis. And if you're not tight there, you won't feel a whole heck of a lot. But if you are tight there, you'll feel this. Breathe into it. Deep breaths here. If you want, you can exhale through your mouth. And release. Go ahead and draw the knee in. If you want to take a little hamstring stretch, you can straighten the leg for just a couple breaths here. And release the knee back in. Bring that foot back down to the earth. Straighten your right leg. Cross the left foot over to the outside of the right thigh. And same thing, you're just going to take your right hand to the left knee and start to draw it across the body. So it's not a real big stretch, but you'll feel it. The back of that left hip into the piriformis muscle. Breathe, take it out through the mouth. And then draw the knee into the chest, give it a little squeeze. You can take a brief little hamstring stretch, or just straighten that leg up to the sky if you like. And draw the knee back in, draw both knees back in, nice symmetrical posture. Rock a little bit side to side. Notice how your lower back feels. If you want, you could take a little circle in the knees if that feels okay for you. If you're circling, go ahead and switch direction. No, I'm yawning. This practice is making me tired today. My body's ready for rest. So bring those feet back down and we're all going to rest. So you have options here. You can keep the knees bent, taking the feet as wide as the mat, let the knees fall together, just like we did after bridge pose. For those of you experiencing back pain, this might feel better than Shavasana. If you want to stretch the legs out, you can come to Shavasana or roll a blanket under the knees. Maybe placing a blanket under your head. However you like to take final rest. Take a minute to allow the body to settle in. Feel the contact between all the points of the body that are touching the floor. Backs of the shoulders, the elbows, the back of the head. As you take a deep breath in, feel all those points spreading out, taking up more space. And as you exhale, feel those points softening in and down. Deep breath in, expanding out. Exhale and soften in and down. Become aware of how your breath moves your body. Start to feel the rise and fall of your belly and your chest. Notice the air as it enters and leaves your nose. Perhaps feel the temperature of the air on your skin. The body, the fingers and the toes. Start to wiggle the fingers and toes, or maybe open the arms up a little wider, taking up more space. If you need a final stretch, you could take the arms overhead. Maybe take the head side to side, and then gently roll to one side, pausing there. Allowing yourself to feel completely grounded. Maybe even keeping the eyes closed if that's comfortable for you. And then slowly walking yourself up, allowing the eyes to open when you're seated. Finding a comfortable seat if you want to sit on your folded blanket. We started this practice standing, and we'll end seated. Again, make sure that we're not rounding into that lower back. You can try taking Adho Danda Mudra. This is the one we've been working with, where we take the thumb or the fingers in, and the thumb just sits straight up, and then taking the pinky sides to the legs. Take a moment to settle in. Breathe in and feel the spine lift and lengthen. Exhale, letting go of any stress and tension in the shoulders, the neck, the jaw. Notice as you breathe if you feel a little lighter, or if anything has shifted and changed in the body, the mind, or the breath. Bringing awareness to the third eye, the center of the forehead. Bring the palms together in front of the heart. We'll end with the sound of Om tonight. Taking a breath together, exhaling it, and then we'll inhale to the sound of Om. Exhaling to the sound of Om. So take inhale. Thank you for sharing this practice. Namaste. See you in 2 weeks. No practice next week.